Uh, Good afternoon and welcome to uh, the energy webinar. We're just going to give 3 minutes to wait if there's some people that would like to join. We'll start at 2:35. Thank you. Um, Good afternoon once more, and welcome to our third Green Innovation Challenge. And the theme for this afternoon webinar is turning Zambia's energy challenge into green business opportunities. My name is Blessing Gondwe. I'm the private sector engagement consultant for the FACENDC project, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Um, you can move slide, please. Okay. All right. So this is our agenda for this afternoon. Um, We are going to share briefly on, we've got some few housekeeping rules and notes. And also from there, we're going to move to the brief presentation on the FACENDC project. And then we're going to get into Zambia's energy landscape and key challenges. Got two well experienced colleagues that are going to lead us into this session. And then we're going to allow our colleagues from Bongo Hive just to share on how you can apply for this introduction, this innovation challenge. And then we're going to have a question and answer session after the two presentations are done. So after the Zambia Energy Landscape presentation, we're going to have a Q&A, and after the Innovation Challenge presentation by Bongo Hive. So in case you have a question, please do write in the chat. And when that time comes for questions and answers, then we can easily get to that question and read it. But an opportunity to also be given where you can raise your hand and then we can respond to that. And then we're going to just going to summarize with some few key takeaways, and then we're going to close. We expect to be done in an hour and 40 minutes at most. Thank you. So we'll talk about the agenda for this particular webinar. Like I did mention earlier on, that focus is to turn Zambia's energy challenges into green business opportunities. So what we're looking at the end of this webinar is that there will be better understanding of Zambia's energy sector landscape, including electricity, I think there's a lot that's been happening in the petroleum space, and also the opportunities that have come as a result of some challenges that have occurred lately. And then there will be also better understanding on renewables and also biomass sector. We also need to, at the end of this, we will explore some key challenges facing the sector, and also identify business and innovation opportunities in clean energy and just energy access in general. And then we're going to learn the full innovation challenge application process by our colleagues Bongo Hive. Some few housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphone muted unless invited to speak, and mostly to be towards the end of the session during the Q&A. And also for any question, like I did mention earlier on during the presentations, kindly type them in the chat box, and we'll take all the questions towards the end of the session. And just for your information, we're going to share these slides together with the recording before the end of the week. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just invite Lucas just to share with us the first poll. And so I've got two types of polls just to understand why you registered for this particular webinar. So please, you have about 30 seconds to respond why you did register for this particular webinar. We just want to know and to understand why you did. So just about 30 seconds. Okay. Okay. Lucas, you let me know if we started getting the responses.
There we have 5 out of 14, 6 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I'll share the results with you now.
Sure. Thank you. Oh, okay. Interesting. I think the majority saying they want to explore green energy business and ideas and want to learn more. I do believe that at the end of this session, yes, that is going to be made to expectations, hopefully are going to be met. And we've seen that also we've got responses on planning to apply for the Green Innovation Challenge. Yes, we've got our colleagues from Bongo Hive are going to share on that, and the session will be very helpful so that you can understand how to apply and also to check if your innovation qualifies for this opportunity, and also just how to learn about energy challenges in Zambia. So that's very interesting to get these responses. Thank you so much, Lucas, for sharing these responses. Okay, so to start off today's session, I'm pleased to invite Mr. Vincent Ziva, who is the coordinator of the FACENDC project at the Food and Agriculture Organization, who is going to give us a brief overview of the FACENDC project. Mr. Ziva, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Blessing, and good afternoon, everybody. And we are so grateful that you found time to listen to this webinar and share knowledge. So the FACENDC project is a project that is supported by the German government through the Climate Initiative Finance, which we call IKI. So this project basically is about capacity, how we can contribute to capacity development. The main outcome where we're looking at students, teachers, professionals, public and private actors and communities at large to improve their knowledge and climate-friendly behaviors and to support a green transition of the economy. So this project actually underscores some government commitments to the UNFCCC. Particularly, we have the S, which is the Climate Empowerment Initiative, where we're looking at all community-wide improvement of knowledge of understanding climate change. So we are under that S window, looking at how we can contribute to that. However, Specifically, the project is looking at how we can support government in the attainment or achievement of the nationally determined contributions. For those that probably are not familiar with the nationally determined contributions, this is a commitment that government, as a member state of the UN, has made commitment to the global community to contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And through the NDC, there is a target of how much as a country we should reduce in the emission levels by 2030. We are now looking at the nationally determined contribution 3.0, which is the third phase, having done a review of the NDC 2.0. So in the NDC 3.0, government, which they have already submitted to the UNFCCC, they've even added other sectors that are targeted for emission reduction. So we as a project, we are supporting government through education, capacity development, promoting behavior-friendly practices. This is both through non-formal and formal education systems, and targeting civil society, private sector, basically community at large, to have low carbon investments, climate behavior-friendly activities that we can attribute to reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We are targeting three main sectors. So we're targeting the energy sector. That's why this webinar is around energy innovations. We're targeting agriculture sector and the forestry sector. And to prove that our work is contributing to greenhouse gas emissions, evidence will be collected through GIS mapping. This is where we'll be promoting the use of QR code to collect data in terms of targeted behaviors and the individuals in pilot areas and schools who will be providing information through a QR code and collect cumulative information that shows improved knowledge, understanding, and practices. So like I did indicate, this project is supported through the IKI finance, but is managed by a consortium of institutions. So we have 3 UN agencies with a joint program approach where FAO, UNESCO, and UNITA as United Nations agencies have come together and also partnered with 2 national institutions, which are the 2 universities, the University of Zambia and the Copperbelt University. So you can see each one of the partner brings in comparative advantage based on their comparative mandates in terms of climate education and practice. You can see the wide range of targets, private sector, non-formal, formal. So each one of the partners has specialized mandates in this area. And in today's webinar, we are focused on energy, and the UNITA is leading on private sector engagements and capacity development. And this is one of the initiatives that we are here today. So thank you very much. Blessings.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ziwa, for that clear and insightful overview. We'll now turn to today's main topic, which is Zambia's energy landscape and opportunities for green innovation. And to help us with this session, I'm pleased to welcome Yoram Mbolela and Ilitongo Kaywalaon, renewable energy and green technologies experts from the FAO Zambia, that's Food and Agriculture Organization Zambia, who guide us through this technical presentation. So I hand over to Ilitongo and Yoram. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Blessing, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to this webinar. As Blessing has mentioned, my name is Ilitongo Kaywalaon, and I work with renewable energy and green technologies under the FACENDC project at FAO.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. As Ada introduced, my name is Yoram, Ngosa, Mbolela, also working as a renewable energy and technology expert for FAO under the FACENDC project. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so we've got three questions that we just want to find out, just to know your understanding on this particular topic. So kindly just click on the option that you feel is the best a response to that particular question. So we just got about a minute for us to respond to that. Okay, and Lucas, just okay, yeah, update us once
Yeah,
the responses
sure.
have
We
come in.
have very few answers, just 2 out of 22. So
Okay,
let's try to answer everyone, please. More answers are coming in. Now we have 10,
okay,
10 out of 22. So
okay.
I guess we have a good number. If okay for you, I'm going to close it.
So maybe just wait a little bit, so maybe we can get to somewhere like 12. Okay,
We are not getting any more answers,
okay,
unfortunately.
all right. Thank you so much, Ilitongo. Hand over to.
Okay, all right, thank you. So very interesting answers. We have 4 out of 11 people saying that the biggest problem that we are facing as a country is unreliable electricity. We have high energy costs, 2 people who voted that. Dependence on charcoal and biomass for cooking. We have another 2 people who said that. And we have 3 who are saying that all of the options above are Zambia's biggest energy challenges. No one said anything about limited access to modern energy in rural Zambia. This is actually very interesting. And also, the second question is the answers are cutting regarding the challenges, energy challenges, mostly that affect small businesses and livelihoods.
Yeah. Please scroll down.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
you
I'm
will see
able to
that.
scroll. All right. Okay, great. Okay, so the answers show that there's increased operating costs that is coming out prominently as the problems that are being faced by the private sector, and reduced productivity due to outages. I don't know if this is still applicable today, but it was a very big problem last year. I agree with this one. And then we have about 2 people out of 7 who say that all of our choices above the increased operating costs, reduced productivity, and limited ability to expand are all problems that are being faced by the by the private sector.
Yeah, I think quite interesting results. I think it's not much surprising to get these results. If we look where we are coming from, where we had electricity, the load shedding, I think looking at our Zambian scenario, I think that was the most a big problem challenge we had, where people would go even for more than 21 hours without electricity. So I think the answers, like unreliable supply of electricity, I think it's not surprising to get such an answer. And also a number of people, I think maybe might have related to if they own small businesses and whatever, the impact it had on a number of businesses, others which even closed, they couldn't manage to sustain the high cost. But as Ilitongo was mentioned, I think this was more of last year. I think this year the situation has quite changed, I think, in 2026. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I'm going to take you through an overview of what the energy sector is like in the country, and take you through the challenges that are currently prevailing, and we'll see if they match what has come out from the poll. But the list will not be exhaustive because it's covering the whole country. So we've chosen the most common challenges that are there on the ground and that we feel that probably are relevant to the audience that we have before us. So when we're talking about energy, specifically in Zambia, energy is lumped into three main categories. So we have electricity, we have petroleum, and we have renewable energy. So those are the three main categories under which energy falls in the country. But we have a very interesting situation in that among the renewable energies, if you look at this pie chart on the right, this gray area, this constitutes of biomass energy. And biomass energy in Zambia is mainly made out of wood fuel, that is fire and firewood and charcoal. So this happens to be our biggest energy source in the country, constituting about 70% of our primary energy. And depending on what literature you are reading, some estimate that it goes even up to 80% and above. And you may be aware that the way we source our wood fuel, particularly charcoal, is that we cut trees from the forests and then we produce our energy. And the rate at which the trees are being extracted from our forests is exceeding the rate at which we are able to naturally regenerate the trees, or even if we have these tree planting activities, the rate of extraction and the rate of regeneration are very, very different. Like the regeneration rate is not matching the rate at which we are extracting. So because of this particular energy source has received quite a bit of attention, not just from government, but from all players in the sector. So you'll find that biomass energy, though technically it's a renewable energy, it usually stands on its own. And because of this significance and its impact on the environment and the forests. We can move to, okay, so maybe before I move on, sorry, we can go back. So in terms of percentages of our energy consumption in the country, the biggest portion goes to biomass, which is roughly about 70% of our energy. Then we have electricity, this orange brownish piece of the pie, with about 12%. Then we have petroleum. This is mostly the petrol and the diesels. And the 7% there, that's renewable energy when we put it all together. And then the 2%, that light blue portion, this is all the other energy sources that are there that do not necessarily fall under these three main categories. So we can move on. So in terms of electricity, I think we are mostly dependent on hydropower. So right now, more than 80% of our electricity that is produced in the country comes from our hydro stations. We also have electricity production from coal. This is not a green source, but we have about 10% of our electricity comes from coal. We also have some areas in the country that are not connected to the national grid, and these produce the electricity from diesel. These are the generators. And we also have other sources such as heavy fuel oil that are also used for producing electricity. But our main source is hydro. We have uranium in the country, but this is currently not used for electricity production. It's used for other things in the medical world, and also it's mainly exported. Then when it comes to renewable energy, we have solar, we have wind energy, we have geothermal energy. I'm sure people may have heard of Kalahari energy, who are producing electricity from these hot springs. That's geothermal energy. And we also have biofuels for transport, though not widely adopted yet, but these are also counted under renewable energy. And biomass, like I said, despite being a renewable energy, it's actually put in its own category just to give it that extra attention. So when we're talking about biomass, we're basically talking about energy that comes from living things. So the biggest chunk of this is wood fuel, which is charcoal and firewood. Charcoal is used in the urban areas, but is produced in the rural areas. While firewood is mostly used in the rural areas and also urban areas, maybe for production and funerals and other cultural activities. We also have other forms of biomass, such as biogas. We have energy from waste. We have pellets and briquettes. All these are forms of biomass, but their rate of use is very low. So normally when you hear people talking about biomass, it's usually wood fuel. Then also, depending on what literature you are referring to or who you are talking to. So when you read most of the government documents, you'll find the term biomass, which is referring to the collection of all these things that I've mentioned. But we have some cooperating partners who refer to this as bioenergy, and then others, because of the high volume of wood fuel in there, and because this is mostly used for cooking than anything else, they will talk about clean cooking. But basically, when you hear these terms, they are all talking about the same thing, and this is biomass, which is mostly used for cooking at household level. Then, in terms of petroleum, at the moment, we only have finished products. We used to have the Indeni Petroleum Refinery, which the government used to import crude oil, and then it will be refined at Indeni. So right now that is closed. So the country is importing finished products. So these are petrol, diesel, liquefied petroleum gas, and these are the main three. We don't have our own proven petroleum resources in the country. There have been a number of exploratory activities to see if we have our own reserves, particularly in Western Province, but there's nothing proven at the moment. So petroleum happens to be the only, among our energy sources, it happens to be the only one which is wholly imported. We don't have any production in the country. So because of this reliance on importation, you find that we are actually very vulnerable to the international oil prices. So any disturbance in the international oil markets, we are affected as a country. And also, since we are importing, we are using a lot of our foreign exchange, and our currency has sometimes not been very stable. So you find that any disturbances in our foreign exchange rate, and we end up spending quite a lot on petroleum. So on the right there is just an example of our electricity. This is statistics from the Energy Regulation Board showing us the installed capacity for the years 2024 and 2025. So our total installed capacity is just above 300 megawatts. And as I indicated earlier, this first bar here, this is what is coming from hydropower. There's a lot of talk about solar energy, but at the moment it's contributing quite little to the overall electricity production. It's doing very well in rural areas for off-grid purposes, but when it comes to connection to the grid, this is when the country is making like big efforts to try and see where else we can get electricity apart from hydro. Then we also have coal, which I mentioned a bit earlier, and we also have diesel. Although the diesel stations are slowly being faded out because of the greenhouse emissions that come with producing energy from diesel. Can move to the next slide. Okay. So why are we talking about energy? Why does it matter? So energy, I think it goes without saying, it's almost like oxygen. The economy cannot survive without energy because it drives our economic and industrial activities. We need energy for the mines in terms of electricity and also petroleum for their refining and other activities. It's also very key in agriculture and it's also key in the transport sectors. Our country has a high poverty levels and energy also reduces access to energy, reduces poverty and improves household welfare. It enables modern services and innovation. And also when it comes to job creation, it's not just in the formal sector, but I think a lot of small businesses are able to be formed that use energy. So things like salons, things like barber shops, welding, all those are small businesses that can that are supported by energy. And it attracts investment and also helps with business competitiveness. And in light with what we are talking about now, depending on what kind of energy source you're talking about, it's very key to green economic transformation. And this is something that generally cuts across all sectors. I don't think there's any sector in Zambia that can say that they don't use energy or they don't need energy. So I've just highlighted education there and health as some of the sectors that are key where energy is key. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So in terms of the key challenges in the country, I'll go through those various types of energies one by one. So when we're talking about electricity, as noted earlier, the country is very reliant on hydropower. So unfortunately, hydropower, while it is a very clean energy, it's one of the green energies, it is susceptible to climate change. I think you've seen previously in the country, we've been suffering from droughts. You have years like this year, it seems to have very good rainfall, but the past 2-3 seasons were not very good. And because of that, we did not have enough water in the Kariba Dam and other hydropower stations that could help us to produce electricity. So because over 80% of our electricity is from hydro, and when we have droughts, for example, we're not able to produce electricity, that's where we end up having issues of load management and load shedding. So this is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to relying on hydro for our electricity. And over the years, there's been, while there were plans by ZESCO and the Ministry of Energy to extend or build more power plants, there's been underfunding. And also the country has not been in a position to fund some of these large-scale projects. So don't kill me, but sometimes I'm happy that we've had load shedding because it has helped us to open our eyes after having load shedding of power up to 21 hours, 20 hours, we don't have power. There's a lot of attention has actually shifted towards the energy sector and the electricity sector as a whole. So sometimes load shedding is not so bad because it has helped us to see where we are lacking, and there's been a lot of attention now that is coming into the sector. The next point when I'm talking about infrastructure and investment deficit, this is related to the top one, that our infrastructure is actually quite old. ZESCO is trying to build more facilities, replace all these old poles and all, but this has actually now come up after seeing these challenges that we've had because of load shedding and others. So while this is being done, the rate is slower. The investment that is coming into the sector is actually slower than the investments that we need, and also the demand from the public. So we hope that this is something that can be looked at urgently. Infrastructure vulnerabilities, just as an example, I think 2 weeks ago, almost the whole of Western Province had no electricity because some elephants were leaning on some ZESCO poles, and those poles fell. As a result, for like 2-3 days, almost the whole province had no electricity. So part of our infrastructure is actually very vulnerable. That was just an example, but it's quite old, and you'll find that there are things which are every now and then a pole has fallen, or there's something that has happened there. So this is quite a big challenge at the moment. And then ZESCO has had some financial challenges, and also they've been unable to invest into their facilities at a rate that maybe we would have liked to see. And as mentioned, there's very little diversification. This is when we are realizing the need to diversify our electricity generation. All along, we've been blessed. We have a lot of water in Zambia, so we have a lot of hydropower stations, and we didn't see the problem until climate change came and did its thing. That's when we saw that, okay, maybe relying on one source of energy for everything is not such a good thing. So we're talking about diversification to other sources, but I think this is rather slow. And then lastly, while we have very good policies and regulations on the ground, there are still some challenges here and there, particularly when it comes to private players in the sector. Next slide. Okay, so when it comes to renewable energy, some of the challenges here are similar to what is prevailing in the electricity sector. So when it comes to renewable energy, the investment costs are actually quite high. And you'll find that for one to invest into this sector, you actually need substantial amounts of money. So for Zambians in particular, there is a challenge of limited access to financing. Our loan interest rates are quite high in the country, and the conditions sometimes are not very favorable. And right now, there's been a lot of talk and information, and maybe the banking sector is now rising to the challenge to finance some of these renewable energy projects. But previously, there was few financial institutions where one could turn to and be able to get a loan or get some money for you to set up some of these renewable energy facilities. We also have some grid and infrastructure challenges. For example, you cannot set up a solar farm anywhere. You have to be placed near the grid, and even then ZESCO will have to tell you some of these places you can't set up your power stations. So there's still a bit of some challenges when it comes to where you can set up. It's not every area that is suitable for setting up these renewable energies, particularly if you want to be connected to the grid. And then when it comes to policy, on the right there, we have this renewable energy strategy and action plan. These are just some of the ways and tools that the government is now putting in place in order to ensure that we have proper policies and directions, and that our regulators are able to regulate renewable energy. Some of the renewable energies, for example, solar, it's well established. It's not like as new as the others, if I can use that word. But there are others which do not have a regulatory framework. So, for example, things like biofuels, we don't have regulations for those quite yet. Things like wood fuel, we may not have the adequate regulations. So while others are properly covered, it's not every renewable energy form that is provided for when it comes to policy and regulations. And then there are also technical and capacity limitations. So just an example, while everybody is praising solar as the solution to our power problem, you cannot have solar energy the whole day. So at night you cannot produce. When it's cloudy, you cannot produce. So this means that you have to look for other alternatives and storage and stuff. So while some of these technologies are very good, there are also some limitations that need to be looked at. And then in terms of demand, like I said, before we had load shedding, some of these things were not really things that we considered. Solar, for example, was just something that was used in the rural areas for charging their phones and playing their radios. It was only when we had no electricity that you found that the urban areas now took interest in solar. So that's where you find that a lot of people now, we have these solar panels on our houses. So this is in terms of demand. Previously, there wasn't quite a lot of demand. So the question is, how do we stimulate demand? Should we keep bringing load shedding every year to force people to use alternatives? But yes, so that's just an example of some of the challenges, like when it comes to demand. Next slide. Okay. So when it comes to biomass, the challenges in the sector. So I like the picture on the right, showing that old lady who is being affected by that steam, by the smoke. So this is actually the biggest challenge that we have this energy resource, which most of our population relies on, but it's not healthy in terms of yes, for the environment, it's not very healthy. It's one of the main drivers of deforestation and forest degradation, but also it's not healthy for the end users. And usually these are the women and young children who have to cook. So that's the biggest challenge, that we depend on an energy source that is actually not good for us in terms of health and also for our environment. And while these challenges are known, that this particular energy source is not healthy, there is very limited adoption of alternative energy sources for cooking. And also, this is a very informal sector. There's very little regulation. The production and transportation of wood fuel is regulated, but others, you'll find that you can sell your charcoal almost anywhere. You can sell all these inefficient cooking technologies. You can sell them anywhere, and no one will come and ask you to say, where's your license? Why are you selling this Mbolela? What is its efficiency? And that kind of thing. So we still have quite a bit of challenges when it comes to policy and regulating the use of biomass and wood fuel in the country. And while people may want to use alternatives, unfortunately, at the moment, the initial cost of alternative energy remains quite high. So this is something that needs a lot of attention. And then also when it comes to climate change, this is actually they call it the vicious cycle, that we have our forests, which are very key to our rainfall, but we are clearing the forests to make charcoal. And once we clear the forest, we're affecting the rainfall. And once we have no rainfall, we have no electricity, and when people have no electricity to cook, they go and use charcoal, and we just keep on making the situation worse and worse. So biomass energy is one of those key energy sectors that needs to be considered when it comes to climate change. So the last slide. Okay, thank you. So this is my last slide, just outlining some of the challenges in the energy sector, and we're talking about petroleum now. So as mentioned, petroleum is the only energy source in the country that is wholly imported. So what this means is that the prices are affected by foreign exchange fluctuations, which can actually be quite volatile. So if you see on the right there, that's just an extract of how the prices are right now. I'm sure everyone is aware that ERB now changes the prices on a monthly basis. This is because we have no control over these prices. So this month you import at this price, next month you import at another price, just like that. So keeping the price constant is not in our hands. So you find that there's this frequent changes in the retail price of petroleum. This is because of this dependence on this is due to the fact that we are importing everything, and as such, we are actually not in control of anything. And then, as mentioned previously, we have the Indeni oil refinery in Ndola, and we also have the Tazama pipeline. And previously, we were able to import crude oil through Dar es Salaam, and this would be pumped through the Tazama pipeline to Indeni. So now the closure of this refinery means that previously we were able to have some of the byproducts were actually very good. We were able to get liquefied petroleum gas from the refining process. So at that point when Indeni was working, LPG was actually rather cheap compared to now. We had heavy fuel oil as a byproduct of the refining, which was used for electricity production by a company called Ndola Oil. So now that we are no longer refining as a country, it means that these byproducts are no longer there. And LPG is an essential alternative energy for cooking, which has now become very expensive because it's not locally produced. We have to import it. And also heavy fuel oil, which was also used for electricity production, is no longer an option now unless the company is willing to import, which would increase the price. So that is just one of the challenges that is there in the petroleum sector. And then we have infrastructure limitations, bulk storage facilities. Not every oil marketing company has their own storage facilities. So they all have to get hospitality from either Tazama or from Indeni or from the bigger oil marketing companies that have their own storage facilities. And right now, although there is open access to the Tazama pipeline, where oil marketing companies can use to import their product, there's been a bit of challenges in terms of access because everyone is after the same pipeline. So our petroleum products are now transported by road mostly. And when you transport your petroleum by road, it means those tankers also need their own fuel. So this adds to the prices of the petroleum, and also adds to the cost of doing business for those companies that need petroleum for their operations. And I think, as everybody may know, petroleum is a fossil fuel. And because of that, they produce greenhouse gases and are a concern for climate change. And the last point, we're talking about supply disruptions and shortages. This is related to the first point where we are importing all our products. So there are certain things that the country and the ministries there are certain things that are actually out of their hands. So there have been times when we've had shortages and disruptions in supply. So I will end here and I'll hand over to my colleague Yoram to take you through the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilitongo, for giving the background and the challenges that were existing in the energy sector. I will take you through the next part of the presentation, which will talk about the opportunities and the areas where we see we can have potential for innovations. I'll try to be a bit quick looking at the time. I've been reminded. So I'll be taking a slide as it comes. I might not be going straight point by point. So maybe you might take note for whatever we're going to discuss so that we can discuss them during the question and answers. So with regards to electricity, we have noticed that the electricity market restructuring actually has created a number of opportunities in terms of participation, especially for the private sector. If you look at the open access, where it has allowed anyone to use the transmission as a common carrier, transmission infrastructure as a common carrier. This actually has enabled, created a possibility for a number of participants to be, in terms of setting up power plants, the issue of just forming a company that could trade, import and sell electricity, even exporting electricity. As it is with open access, you don't need ZESCO to be your buyer. When you put up a power plant, you can negotiate with any potential buyer. If it's a mine, any mine, but you can use the existing infrastructure to where the electricity. Maybe you'll just be charged the wheeling fees for using the infrastructure. So this has opened up actually and created a lot of opportunities for the private sector, and a number of entities as now ZESCO is not the sole buyer, and again you have access to the infrastructure. Also, the targets with regards to the expansion of generation capacity, we all know where when you look at the government targets, where they are talking of by 2030 we should hit 10,000 megawatts. This creates a potential, opportunity for investments from the private sector, and also the issue of public partnerships with public-private partnerships with the government. So the target itself, where government wants to make energy as one of the major export, also creates a big opportunity for a number of private sector players with regards to electricity generation, because you just set up a power plant, the infrastructure in terms of transporting, wheeling the your electricity that you are generating, you can use it. It's more like a common carrier. Then also there is a growing demand. We know our target, where we are talking of by 2030, the target is 3 million, and also expansion in the agriculture and industrializing the country. All these demands demand the use of electricity. So if you look at in terms of potential for generation, also this also creates a potential. Just the government targets opens up and opens up the market and the potential for investing in electricity sector. Also, when we talk of the rural electrification and issues of mini grids, you talk of we still have a big population that are not electrified. I think we are now sitting around 57.1, if I'm not mistaken, where rural electrification rate is about 34. And for the urban areas, we are talking of somewhere around 80%. So for rural electrification, I think there is still an opportunity to come up with the innovative way of which we can participate in terms of rural electrification. So this could be through mini grids or other innovative way of trying to provide electricity for our rural communities. The other one is increase the need for adaptive resilience, as my colleague had mentioned earlier, where we are relying on about 80% of electricity coming from hydro, which is, we have seen now the impact that has had when it comes to climate change. Now, the government has been moving now to ensure that we bring in other technologies that could be resilient when it comes to issues to do with climate change. If you look at the picture, for those who haven't seen yet, this is the biggest, I think, power plant, solar power plant in Zambia that was recently commissioned, the 100 megawatt in Samba, which is owned by ZESCO, which was financed by a consortium of financiers, which include our local bank, Stanbic. Next. When it comes to renewable energy, you find that most of the opportunities there, when you talk of renewable and electricity, I think they're quite related. Even on renewable, we are talking of the strong national targets to diversify coming from where we stand as now, where hydro is still the major source, and the government has come up with very ambitious targets when it comes to increasing the share of renewable energy. Also, you'll see the commitment from the government when it comes to issues of incentive and policy reforms. They are trying to do as much as possible. As of today, when you import a number of power generating equipment, I think they don't carry duty when you are bringing them. Even those that when after you are done with a construction of, let's say if it's a solar or if it's a wind power plant, those equipment that you need to dispatch your electricity, all those are coming duty free. It's an effort to ensure that the policy direction in terms of diversification is reached. Also, we have, as I had mentioned earlier, the potential for large solar projects. You see, in terms of solar is one of the major resources we have in Zambia. And we have areas, a bit of areas where we can do wind, and my colleague had mentioned where there are geothermal, although the exploration is still going on. But solar is one of our major renewable energy, which we have a potential in terms of resource. And also talked about the issues of the off-grid when it comes to issues of rural electrification. They can play a bigger role there. Also, private sector and other institutions can play a bigger role. When we talk of biofuels, we are talking of, I saw a comment in one of our colleagues asking about the issue of production of biofuels. I think there is a potential and also an opportunity, although there have been some challenges. In the past, I think when I was with the Ministry of Energy, I sat on a number of technical committees where we tried to push the production of biofuels for the use in the transport sector and also for cooking. But I've been told, I think efforts are still being made where we foresee, I think in the near future, because some MOUs have been signed with government, by some of the companies that will be blending biofuels. So this area also has got a potential when it comes to issues to do with transportation and cooking. Also, the issue of energy storage, you know the issue of renewable energy, especially when we talk of something like wind or solar, the intermittence, when it comes to the technical aspect of it, the variation, the variation on its own creates a bit of a challenge. So this is also an opportunity where I think a number of the private sector, other institutions can move on to address the issue of this challenge in terms of storage of energy. And it's one of the aspects, I think, even on these big power plants that has been installed, I think it has been the talk on how can we improve when it comes to the aspect of energy storage. So that creates also a big opportunity. The aspect of net metering, I saw even in one of the comments, I think one of our colleagues had said we have this opportunity, but it seems people are not yet on board. Yes, actually, if you look at the percentage of those who are on net metering, it's quite low. So maybe it's a issue of maybe awareness and the like, but net metering is a big opportunity. I've seen there are some companies actually that have installed the solar systems at their work, and beyond, they have cited beyond what they need, and they take they take net metering as a business. They export, rather they sell to ZESCO, to ZESCO. And for maybe the reason could be initially when I think net metering was introduced, I think in terms of, it wasn't very clear in terms of how people will be getting payments. There was the issue of more like trying to swap in terms of units. But afterwards, I think they worked on the model. So I think it's the issue of just building more capacity. And maybe others, it could be the issue of finance, but it's a big opportunity which people can take up for revenue. Also, the aspect of finance, where there are quite a number of existing finances that supports the green projects. And I think in the next coming slide, I think we'll talk about that. So this also creates an opportunity, making it feasible for one to come up with, rather implement the renewable energy projects. Also, there is a gap when in terms of manufacturing or assembly of this, most of this renewable energy. You find that mostly they are coming already assembled, but there is an opportunity for establishing assembly or manufacturing in terms of this solar system and even other kind of renewable energy technologies. Next. On biomass, as my colleague has said, I think there's also a challenge when it comes to biomass and clean cooking, where we have, again, opportunities. It's where there are challenges, there are opportunities, where the government is pushing people to go to start using efficient and clean cooking technologies for a various reasons, others that could be health, and also for issue of productivity. And also some of the technology of modern biomass, which includes ethanol pellets and briquettes. I have put some of the pictures for the ethanol stove and the briquettes. For the ethanol stoves, I think in some of our countries, they have done very well. You'd imagine in Kenya, there's a company that has more than 1 million clients, 1 million clients. We are talking of maybe households more than in Lusaka. Or just imagine the whole Lusaka. Everyone uses ethanol. So because usually ethanol, although there's part of it that is imported, a big chunk of it is produced locally, which is also quite environmental friendly, and also in terms of any security, it enhances energy security. Also, although we are talking of LPG, although it's a fossil, but I think it's a better evil when you we compare it to charcoal that's produced in a sustainable way, of which most of our charcoal is produced in a sustainable manner. So there is also those opportunities in the production of cylinders and also the stoves. Also for biogas, you talk of the construction and selling flexi biogas. Also that presents an opportunity. Also, we are talking of and the supply chain in terms of manufacturing and assembly of these cooking, clean cooking technologies. And next. On petroleum, I think maybe I won't say much. You can see we are talking of, in terms of removing the challenges, we turn it into opportunities, electric cars, also the use of biodiesel. So maybe we might go to, yeah, I think because of time, I might not go through all these opportunities that are existing, but I think the presentation will be shared, and this is the information I think will be given to all the participants. So we can go to the next slide. This talks about this multilateral, and yes, and the next slide talks about some local financial institutions, the commercial banks that are also involved and actively participating in the renewable energy space. That mentioned like Stanbic, I think it was one of the banks that participated in one of the finance, one of the biggest solar power plant that we have in Zambia. Maybe go to the last slide. Okay, now we can talk about the innovation needed in the energy sector. This is not a comprehensive list, but this is some of the areas where we feel and we see there is potential for innovation. So in general, when you talk of the diversifying from what we are talking today, in terms of hydro, where we are talking of getting almost 80% share, we see there is room for innovation as the government is now pushing to reduce that percentage so that we enhance our energy security. Also, Dan mentioned the aspect of energy storage systems. This is a big issue. It could be a number of innovations surrounding this aspect, or rather this area, when it comes to renewable energy, as this has been seen as an important aspect when you're talking of renewable energy, solar, wind. This is quite an important area, and we foresee that there is potential for innovation surrounding this aspect. Also, the aspect of decentralized, the issue of rural electrification, where we see, again, there is quite a lot of room and potential, and the need for, I think, innovation to reduce, I think, the areas where we don't have access. As we are saying, we are sitting about the access for rural areas is about 34%. So there is a potential. We are talking of 64% of people in rural areas that don't have access to electricity. Also, that creates also room for innovation. The other aspect where we are talking of energy as a service, generally, this is where we would want to, because renewable energy, as one of my colleague had mentioned earlier, it has some issues of the cost implications. The issue is there anything that we can do to provide a service to these rural or even urban areas where people don't need basically to buy, rather own this renewable energy, but they can get a service? Because by nature, we find that most of the people, I wouldn't say everyone, but most of the people, they are just interested in if it's electricity, it's just electricity as a service, not about owning the panels or owning the inverters, owning the whatever. But if they can only have electricity, rather energy, that's what they're interested in. So innovation surrounding that, where people, they don't need to own, but they can have a service. Also, I think we'll see the potential for innovation in that area. Also, waste to energy, we would see there's also a big potential. We have seen energy has been a challenge when it comes to handling the issue of waste, but it provides also an opportunity for generation of energy. So you can generate electricity, the aspect of biogas, even a issue of direct heating when it comes to waste to energy. So even this creates a potential when it comes to uh, in terms of innovation. Also, I'd mentioned earlier, talking of clean transport fuels and biofuels, electric cars. I think I'd mentioned about earlier innovation surrounding this. Also, component I think we see as a potential area where people can look in terms of innovations. Also, financial business models and innovations. How do we ensure that? What kind of business models can we ensure that our targeted market are able to absorb whatever products, renewable energy products that we are selling? I know we have had a number of already the pay-go kind of business and financial innovation, but it is still, I think we see there is still room for more innovation with regarding this area where we need to increase demand on all renewable energy products. Agriculture and any innovative nexus. Also, this is there's also a lot of potential for innovations where we are talking of renewable energy in the agricultural value chains, where issues to do with irrigation, issues to do with providing storage. So we see also this as an area where there is potential for innovation. Also, I'd mentioned clean cooking innovations. Also here there is also room. And also the aspect of green financing and the carbon innovations, coming up with innovations under this area where one could, using the energy program, rather project, to be able to access green financing. So I think I'll end here. I think this is my last slide, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbolela, and thank you so much, Ilitongo, for the presentation. I know we do not have, we're supposed to be winding up. So probably what we can do, we had some few questions during the presentation and in the chat. So maybe I'll just select maybe two questions that I feel can be addressed. There's some things I think that you've already made mention. So the first question, I think, will go to our colleagues. Say, is there any funding or partnership opportunity for green hydrogen from FAO? If you are knowledgeable of any, please maybe just indicate. That's the first question that we have. Okay.
Thank you very much, Blessing. I think at the moment, as the first presenter, maybe our participant who asked that question, maybe we didn't um, listen to the first presenter that was made by our colleague, Mr. Ziba, where he clearly indicated the areas or the focus of the FACENDC project, and where at the moment the focus has been more on capacity building with regards renewable energy technology and others. When it comes to energy, it's the renewable energy technology. Basically, it's more to do with capacity building. But however, I think we have got the private team, private sector team, where my colleague Blessing is coming in. I think you can work closely with them you can assist in certain areas, but in terms of finance to fund such kind of projects, I think FAO doesn't have those funds. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the second question was around net metering, but I think you did touch on that. And I think these questions are going to be addressed when our colleague from Bongo Hive is going to make a presentation on what qualifies and what doesn't qualify. So I think that will be addressed. But what I can request, what I can say is we're going to share the contacts and we're going to share an email with you, and you can just send an email to us and just indicate what exactly information you're looking for, so we can come through. But I think there's one question that maybe you can just quickly comment on or respond. It's around what would realistically be the best form of energy to invest in Zambia in the long term. So in less than a minute, if we can respond to that, Yoram or Ilitongo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that depends on the capacity of the investor. As I mentioned, some of these, a lot of these energy projects or activities are quite capital intensive. So if you're looking to invest, it depends on, first of all, on your areas of interest and mostly on your capacity. But right now, the world is moving towards renewable energy. So renewable energy is a good bet if you want to invest in the energy sector. So there are different ways in which you can invest. There's you could be dealing with storage facilities. You could be dealing with the solar panels. Those who are in the clean cooking sector, there's a lot of business when it comes to construction of biogas digesters. And for those who are who are thinking of investing in the transport sector, biofuels is something that the government is seriously looking into. So in terms of the farmers, there's good opportunities for growing energy crops. So I saw someone who was asking about, has there been any research when it comes to energy crop for biofuels? So yes, there's been a lot of interest research, not necessarily just on castor beans, but all those oil crops that are able to produce biofuels. So biofuels production in terms of the crops and outgrower schemes, those are some of the areas that someone can invest in, but there's no right or one answer for everybody because really it depends on your capacity. Yoram?
Yeah, maybe it's just to add on what Ilitongo has said. If you are looking at it from the electric aspect, because so what the realistically would be the best form of energy to invest in Zambia. If you look at it from, let's say, electricity subsector, we have been pushing for renewable alternatives to hydro. However, these have got also certain limits and challenges because of their intimacy, or we call it the variability of the technology itself. The reason why we I've mentioned the aspect of potential area in terms of investment, where we're trying to study the aspect of storage of storage of the energy, or rather electricity. However, in trying to address this, you have seen there are some efforts, because you need a base load as it is now, because usually these solar farms, there are very few that has got storage. It's just direct into the grid, and depending on the weather and the likes, which creates a bit of challenge for the system. That's why, as it is, you can only add up to a certain percentage of your base load. So we also have to look at technologies, that clean technologies, rather, I know some technologies some time back, they were not very much as clean as they were. But we also, as we are trying to push a number of renewable energies, we need also to look at other technologies that can help us in terms of enhancing the base load. We have seen government so far investing in together maybe in a PPP with Mamba, that's specifically to create a base load, but at the same time is pushing for increase in terms of production of electricity from renewable energy.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So probably what we're going to do is that we've seen that still got some questions in the chat. So what we're going to do is we're going to compile the questions and have responses shared together with the slides before the end of the week. Thank you so much, our colleagues. And we need to quickly move to how to apply for this so that you better understand who qualifies, what technologies and so forth. So I'm just inviting Kasiku to take over this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Blessing. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kasiku Kayoma, Social Innovation and Research Associate at Bongo Hive Consult, which is the implementing partner for this particular Green Innovation Challenge. And this webinar basically aims to provide you with all the necessary information you need to apply successfully for this particular program and understand the key elements of the program. So I guess we can just go ahead and dive into the purpose of this Green Innovation Challenge. So maybe one is wondering what this particular challenge is. This is an initiative that is designed to support early stage green entrepreneurs and innovators in Zambia who are tackling environmental challenges through practical climate positive solutions. So the challenge focuses on solutions that are aligned with Zambia's green economy goals and national development priorities. So our goal is to provide capacity building and provide financial and strategic support to all the innovators like you. We will be offering $2,200 in grant funding to help you test and demonstrate your green innovations. So by participating in this particular innovation challenge, you're not only contributing to positive environmental change, but you're also taking a significant step towards scaling your idea. So the question could be, why should you participate in this particular Green Innovation Challenge? There are several reasons, but I'll only list three. Firstly, you will have access to mentorship, resources, networking opportunities that can help you take your idea to the next level. Secondly, this challenge aligns with the green growth and national determined contribution priorities, meaning your solution has the potential to contribute to Zambia's climate action and economic development. And lastly, you'll be able to pitch your innovations to potential investors by the end of this particular innovation challenge with the support needed to make your project sustainable in the long run. We can proceed to the next slide. So what are the things that you need to know before you begin your application? So there are a few important things you must keep in mind before you apply for this particular innovation. Firstly, that your innovation aligns with the challenges' goals, which are to promote green economy solutions that are scalable and impactful. You also need to provide a solid plan that demonstrates the feasibility of your idea. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a clear product and service. This must be beyond the conceptual stage. A tangible solution is what we are looking for. What are you trying to solve for? Either in the renewable energy sector, the forestry sector, the agricultural sector, etc. Secondly, enterprise component. You must generate revenue, provide cost recovery, and create jobs from this particular solution. Another thing is scalability. You must show the potential to grow or persist after this particular phase ends, and also your commitment, your willingness to participate in the program activities throughout the stated period. What is not eligible for this particular innovation challenge? We are not taking in academic studies or research projects only. Policy or strategy related innovations could be white papers, frameworks, development of documents, advocacy only as well, general awareness campaigns without a proper business model. We are not accepting such applications, and also large infrastructure projects, maybe a major construction or project that is too big for the grant that we are offering or the grant scope currently. So some practical tips you should take into consideration as you make your application. Please be very specific with your goals. Define them very clearly. What are you building? What solution are you solving for? Which industry are you solving for? Also, another thing, focus on the pilot. Detail exactly what you will test or demonstrate during this particular innovation challenge, and use simple language. Avoid heavy jargon. Make your application accessible. Ensure that you are very clear and concise in explaining your solution. And also commit fully. Ensure you have bandwidth, like I had earlier stated, for all the activities that are lined up. We can go to the next slide. So before you apply, something that you must take into consideration is the evaluation criteria we'll be using for evaluating your application. So once you submit your application, it will be evaluated based off these 6 things. The first thing being application commitment and readiness, which makes up 10% of your initial application. So how motivated and committed are you in fully participating in this particular innovation challenge? Secondly, the relevance to green economy and climate action, which is very important and it's essential and makes up 25% of your application. How clearly your innovation addresses a green or climate-related challenge. This is very essential. So do not send in an application that is addressing something strictly AI, or something strictly in the technology field, but is not related to the green economy or climate action. We will not consider those particular applications. So make sure that you are solving for innovations addressing green or climate-related challenges. Another thing is enterprise model and economic viability, which make up 20% of your application. So how clear and realistic is your business model, and does it have potential to scale? Also, another thing is feasibility and pilot readiness, which makes up 15% of your application. You need to clearly show us your proposed activities, the appropriate use of the grants as well, and the team's capacity to basically execute the plan. The fifth thing is environmental and social sustainability, which makes up 10%. The expected environmental and social benefits of your innovation. And lastly, potential impact and scalability, which makes up 20%. So when applying, make sure your proposal directly addresses these areas, as they are very critical for the evaluation of your application. We can move on to the next slide. So also let's talk about timelines. The deadline for applications is set for 3rd March, and currently we are receiving applications for this particular innovation challenge. And thereafter, from these webinars that we have been hosting, we are going to synthesize the information and come up with challenge statements that will be used during the innovation challenge. And then shortlisting is currently ongoing and will conclude by the 10th of March. And the top 12 applicants are going to be informed of how they are going to proceed after the innovation challenge, after the application process concludes. And then once that is done, they will run through a design sprint, which is going to last about 5 weeks, where the capacity will be built in different areas on how they can scale their business, how they can test their prototypes, and so on and so forth. And thereafter, we'll have pitch preparation and the pitch day event itself, where they'll be able to pitch their ideas to partners as well as potential investors. And then from that pitch day, we will pick the top 3 ideas that are going to receive the funding, which is the $2,200. And then once they go through capacity development, where they're going to receive more information on how they can refine their ideas, their solutions, and have capacity built in various areas. We're going to have a demo day by the 1st week of July. And that is how the program is going to run overall. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so as you can see, that's the QR code to the application form. We are using a platform called F6S for all applications. Once you click on this particular link, it's going to lead you to the application. I will just quickly demonstrate. Lucas, could I be given permission to share my screen?
I think you can share a screen now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so once you click on the link to the innovation challenge, you're going to land on this particular page where it's going to request for you to log in using your email. And if you have not interacted with the platform yet, once you click on your email, it's going to send a code to your email that you have to input. But because I already did that, I simply have to click continue and it will log me onto the platform. And before you apply, we have about the innovation challenge. You can click here, click more, where you can get more more information about this particular challenge before you apply. What are we looking for? What is not eligible? Practical tips, the evaluation criteria as well. And then you get to this toggle where it says, let's get started. So what you need to do is you need to indicate whether you are applying as a company or a startup or a team or as an individual. And if you're applying as a company, you can simply click create new. And once you click create new, you'll be able to enter your company name and a website if you have a website. If you don't, just click I do not have a website and click create. Once you create your company profile, you will be able to access the application form. If you're applying as an individual, you can simply click it's just me. And you'll be able to tell us a little bit about yourself by answering these questions. You are not at liberty to upload your CV. You can leave that off. And thereafter, you'll be able to access the application questions, and it will take you about 45 to 60 minutes to answer these questions. Please ensure you take your time and answer the questions with understanding as well. That's very essential. And once you are done answering the questions, you can submit your application by clicking connect with Gondwe, Kasiku, and Josephina, and we will be able to receive your application. So that's just a rundown of the whole process of how you can apply for this particular innovation challenge. I will stop sharing my screen now. Thank you so much for your attention. Over to you, Blessing.
Thank you so much, Kasiku. Very interesting presentation. We're just going to allow questions directly concerning the application process and also the eligibility of the concept or the idea that you have that you want to apply for. Then other questions that may be technical, please, you can just write in the chat, and then I'm going to respond in the course of the week. Thank you so much. Lucas, you can help. So if you've got a question, kindly just raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to ask. Okay, I've seen that you've shared the link. Thank you so much.
Hi, Blessing. We have a hand raised here. I'm going to give this person the floor, okay?
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Go ahead, Pole.
I'm audible, I hope.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So, thank you for firstly for the two presentations, as well as just an insight on the competition. I just wanted to clarify one point that was made out. That was the funding is not for pure research. I would like to find out maybe what constitutes pure research, because I'd love to assume these are ideas that will have to be tested in one way or another. Like what's the distinction for what qualifies as purely research based and non-research based? Because certain solutions will have to, I also saw that there will need to be a pilot. There needs to be something that you have to attempt to, whether it's create, make, yeah, or prototype. So I just wanted to get clarity on what is considered as a purely research-based idea or topic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Akasiku, please just respond to that.
So currently we're not looking at academic, like what we mean by pure research or academic studies is basically that, it's something that hasn't yet been tested per se, or you haven't, what can I say? It's just a study that has been done. There's really nothing to show for that particular study. So if if research has been done and there's a clear product or service that you are offering, then we'll accept those. But where it's just purely a study, we are not accepting those particular applications. I don't know if Josephina can come on and just add to that as well.
Thanks. I think you were quite clear. I think it's just not to support academic research because there are other opportunities for that. We really want a clear product or a service because it's at the end of the day, it's really to prove that you can make good business out of these green technologies and so forth. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you so much. There is a question in the chat. Someone needs some advice. Is it okay to apply after attending all webinars? Kaseko, I think the answer is yes. I can respond on your behalf. Yes, that's okay. So the idea was just to increase the level of understanding on these topics or these sectors that we're focusing on. So yes, you can. Others have already submitted. Yeah, but yeah, you can go ahead. Thank you. Lucas, do you have any questions? Like any hands that have been raised?
No other hands raised so far.
Okay. And we don't have new questions in the chat. Correct.
No
Okay.
other questions in the chat as well.
Okay. All right. Kaseko, thank you so much for this session and for that clear and practical overview and even the responses. I was still going to get back to you when we have some more questions. Okay, so we are getting towards the end of our program. But before we close, we'd really appreciate if we can get feedback on this particular session. So we have a short survey that you can see from the screen. The QR code, it'll take about a minute or two to complete, just to get your insights on how this presentation was, what can we improve, and how best to support you as you prepare your application. So we'll appreciate if you can respond to this survey. It's less than 2 minutes. I hope in the chat you've also shared the link to the same. Okay, yes, I can see that. So if you can not use the QR code, kindly go to the chat and you're going to see the link and you can respond to that. It's less than 2 minutes. Okay. All right. As you are responding to that, I would like to take this time and just to thank you for joining this webinar and just got some few key takeaways based on this the presentations that were made. I think Zambia's energy sector faces real systematic challenges, but these challenges create tangible green business entry points. I think our colleagues from energy really did a good job to share some of these opportunities, and I think these opportunities in electricity, clean cooking, renewable energy storage, and biofuel, they're just quite impressive for anyone who wants to dive into the business part of energy. Okay, and another important takeaway I think is around entrepreneurship. That entrepreneurs can shape the future of Zambia's energy resilience. I think it was clear that ZESCO now is not really going to be the main player, but they've allowed other players to come on board. So it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to take up this opportunity and make the most of it. And I think lastly is that this innovation challenge provides this structure and the mentorship and the funding to help innovators to develop and test their solutions. Like Caleb, I think, did raise quite an interesting point. So this is an opportunity for you to test that particular solution or innovation that you have. All right. So thank you all for joining us. We look forward to receiving your application and supporting you in your journey towards sustainable energy innovations in Zambia. Thank you so much. And we're going to have our last webinar on agriculture on Thursday. And those that are interested in attending that particular webinar, please check on the website, on the Facebook pages for Bongo Hive for the link, and you can register for that particular webinar as well. We look forward to interacting with you more. Thank you so much.